This is the shock doctrine in practice, so that these plutocrats can just create these like mass austerity measures and cut. And then in the wreckage, they can rebuild this government in their image and take as many of the spoils as they want. That's the agenda.
Sam Seder and Emma Vigeland of The Majority Report take a look at an instance in which Vivek Ramaswamy accidentally explains why Elon's takeover of U.S. agencies is illegal. Things are happening so fast right now, and it's so crazy that I feel like we're, this was a post they did a day ago, and it already feels stale, right? I mean, the morning I'm recording this, Trump came out and said that the U.S. is going to own the Gaza Strip. So, I mean, the bonkers is coming too fast to keep up with, but it's still relevant. It's still relevant. I'm still going to do it. Let's watch it together. I'm going to have some opinions I'll add as we go, and then I want to know what you think in the comments, but let's check it out.
There are multiple stories that I think, taken as a whole, we have to understand as being an attack on the administrative state. This is something that we've been harping on for, well, really years, since Steve Bannon got up in front of CPAC in February of 2017 and claimed that was what the administration was all about. This time around, they have really figured out and have a plan on how they're going to do it. The difference is that Elon Musk, who paid at least $250 million for Donald Trump to become president, has run of the place. I don't know that he's doing it for the same ideological reasons that Steve Bannon is. He's doing it ultimately to benefit himself in a myriad of ways, which could range from getting proprietary secrets on businesses, getting the U.S. business of cutting checks. It could also just be like, Elon Musk has a lot of interests in China, and there may be value to him to undermine certain U.S. operations and functions, frankly. It's unclear. But the bottom line is there are multiple stories, differing stories, that all end up on the basically in the same place, which is to undermine the administrative state, to make our government function worse for its people. And to see if you can find that AP from today. Also, Bradley, I want to play this, but if you can find that AP that I mentioned today, because the way that this story, and we're going to be talking to Nathan about what's going on with the payment system, which is the scariest of all of them, I think. But there is no way that Elon Musk and DOGE, whatever status it has now, has the authority to shut down an agency completely unilaterally without any type of legislative action. And, we had this conversation the other day with Elie Mystal. The irony of the demise of the Chevron deference doctrine, which says the courts will defer to agencies when it comes to questions on how to interpret or build upon a broad directive from Congress. And now the courts are saying, no, we will step in and decide if Congress hasn't been explicit, is completely at odds with the idea that the executive agencies have the ability to shut themselves down, which is, of course, in contradictory to what Congress has called for. So we're going to see how this plays out if it ultimately gets to the courts. We should
Just before he continues, he said that what's different now is Elon Musk, and of course that's critically important, right? The two of them operating like this, when Musk does something that, I'm using very big air quotes here, but works, or Trump sees as a positive, he can take credit for it, right? And then if Musk oversteps and there's blowback, Trump can say, well, it's not me. That's Elon Musk. But the broader picture are the confirmations of the Pam Bondies, of the Pete Hegseths, and at this point it looks like RFK Jr. is going to be let in as well. These are the agencies that would put the brakes on, right? So Trump does something illegal, and the Justice Department, rather than saying, whoa, 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 hold on now, says, full speed ahead. Yes, sir, dear leader.
Right up front that in an interview in The Hill, I think it was, or no, Semaphore, Chuck Schumer said their strategy is to just do nothing and watch and let them hang themselves by their own petard.
It's literally what the UK Labour did under Boris Johnson the past 4 years. We
will explain why this is a horrible strategy. All right, but here is a audio space, whatever they call it, with two sitting U.S. senators, Mike Lee and Joni Ernst, and Vivek Ramaswamy, what was it that he made all his money on? It was like some type of charlatan scheme. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Alzheimer's drug?
Oh, yes. A drug that never really made it big, but there was a big stock.
Help from his mom.
It was a big pump and dump type of situation.
Basically.
And Elon Musk, who is, I don't know what his title is, oligarchic czar of the oligarchs. I'm not sure what it is.
Caesar.
Oligarch czar. And then two sort of like apparently completely inconsequential U.S. senators. Here's Joni Ernst is going to start this off.
Because so much of that taxpayer money is not even going to, we love to feel good about helping starving children in Name Your Country.
Sudan.
But it's not going there. It's going to pay rents in Paris.
Yes, exactly.
It's going to support somebody's fancy dinner to 100%. Entertain whoever.
Pause it. They're talking about USAID, and look, it may be the case that none of that money goes to helping starving children. Of course, that's not the case, but let's just, and it may be the case that it's all going to fancy dinners in Paris. If only Joni Ernst could find someone who is maybe a senator, one of 100 most powerful people in the country, who is in the majority in the Senate and could hold a hearing on it and shut the whole thing down. But apparently she doesn't know who to ask about that. Go ahead.
Support somebody's fancy dinner to 100%. Entertain whoever.
Yeah. Exactly. So, to be clear, in shutting down, which we're in the process of doing, shutting down USAID, the reason for that, as opposed to simply, trying to do some minor house cleaning, is that as we dug into USAID, it became apparent that what we have here is not an apple with a worm in it, but we have actually just a bowl of worms. And so at the point at which you don't merely, like if you've got an apple and it's got a worm in it, maybe you can take the worm out. But if you've got actually just a bowl of worms, it's hopeless. And USAID is a bowl of worms. Mm-hmm. There is no apple. And when there is no apple, you've just got to basically get rid of the whole thing. That is why it's got to go. It's beyond repair. Yeah.
Well, there's a solution to this, which is that let's say something's cut that the people of this country just demand.
Pause it. Now, wait a second. This is Vivek Ramaswamy. And he says, he's gonna go on to talk about the solution on how the American public can get it back. But there is absolutely zero authority for the President of the United States, and certainly his top oligarch, to just unilaterally decide they're going to cut an agency. All of the authority, if you can believe it, actually lies in people like Joni Ernst and Mike Lee on this call, based upon something called the Constitution. And here's Vivek Ramaswamy's idea on how we can get this back, but it's just so blinkered that you can hear. He doesn't realize that he's actually talking about why what Musk is doing is thoroughly illegal.
Let's say something's cut that the people of this country just demand needs to exist again. it can always be voted back into existence by Senator Ernst and her colleagues.
100%.
And
totally.
The fact that that isn't going to happen reveals exactly why many of these agencies, really deletion is the only answer that's left.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Well said.
Pause it right there. Now, why would you need Joni Ernst and Mike Lee to vote it back in? Is it because the authority to create agencies does not lie with the president? Why couldn't the president just reinstate it? Why couldn't Elon Musk decide that we're going to have a new agency? For the exact same reason why it's illicit for them to cut it.
But this is just another example, right, of the rules applying when they serve and the rules not applying at all when they go against what this administration wants, right? They are the quickest ones to scream foul if I'm being treated unfairly. But the rules only apply half of the time, and that's you hear this even when people proxies sort of start doing this whataboutism, and it's flabbergasting how their brain can hold two realities simultaneously.
It's going, I triple dog dare you, Joni Ernst, up for re-election in 2026 to go against my authority. If the will of the American people is that we need more U.S. aid back, well, Joni Ernst, she can just vote for it, but I've got a cool, few dozen mil that I can just pour right into her race as she's on this call with me that would preclude her from doing that. That's
certainly why she voted for Pete Hegseth.
And that's why she's on that call right now.
But the point is that if you need the authority of the U.S. Senate to create an agency, you need the authority of the U.S. Senate to dissolve that agency.
Exactly.
And I guess we'll see if somebody brings a legal challenge. It seems to me like Congress would have the standing. I don't know, but. Don't worry, Chuck Schumer is on the case. And wait, do you have that AP thing?
I don't.
You didn't find it? Okay.
I don't know if this is the right
so I'm listening to AP this morning. Yeah.
Is it the 8?
Yes.
I think it's this one. Let's see what you try here.
There's going to be commercials.
AP News. Good morning, I'm Ed Donahue. A U.S. aid agency is on the cusp of being shut down. The AP's Julie Walker has the story.
The U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, which is in charge of dispensing billions of dollars in foreign aid, is on the cusp of being shut down, according to President Trump's advisor, Elon Musk. Asked about it.
What? What? No, wait, keep playing this because here's the point. Why what Schumer is doing is so stupid and ineffective.
Back to the White House Sunday, Trump weighed in.
USAID, run by radical lunatics, and we're getting them out, and then we'll make a decision.
Musk has been wrestling for control of USAID and took to X Spaces to discuss it.
To be clear, in shutting down, which we're in the process of doing, shutting down USAID.
The Trump administration placed 2 top USAID security chiefs on leave after they refused to turn over classified material to Musk's DOGE government inspection teams, which did eventually get control. I'm Julie Walker.
Tomorrow,
okay, so there it is. Absolutely no sense of what they're doing is completely illicit. No sense of this is unprecedented. And where's the Democrat who is going to come out and say, hey, this is completely unprecedented and illicit? Because Chuck Schumer has decided the best way to do this is to let them, they're going to screw up.
Hakeem Jeffries, this came out this morning, is going to use this in their negotiations on the budget, as opposed to raising the alarms because he's going to make a demand that this freeze stop. But that's a few months down the line here, buddy. We're in a 5-alarm fire. There's a lot of, I saw AOC made this thing where she called it a plutocratic coup. I guess it was probably in reference to the Treasury, but it still is the overall same dynamic where it's the richest man on the planet is being given access without congressional oversight to our most sensitive government functioning and taking a hatchet to it because it's this idea that they can create a series of shocks. This is the shock doctrine in practice so that these plutocrats can just create these like mass austerity measures and cut. And then in the wreckage, they can rebuild this government in their image and take as many of the spoils as they want. That's the agenda. And it's also mixed. So it's the tech agenda and this Curtis Yarvin monarchical might makes right, democracy is outdated vision. That's kind of this Frankenstein that we have here.
Why have Congress at all?
Well, that's what they're trying to do.
Why haven't vote on anything?
It's the Supreme Court empowering itself with the Chevron doctrine, or doing away with it, so that they have complete control over what should be the agency authority on that end. And then on the presidential end, they have given Trump broad powers with his like presidential immunity for official acts, and he's testing it again, where they're probably going to try to take the impoundment control thing to the Supreme Court. This is both like a two-pronged diminishment of congressional power. They've already self-diminished it with, like, frankly, the Senate and the filibuster and everything, right? But they're even diminishing it more, the courts are, with the help of the conservative apparatus.
So this is what I think people who are still in my orbit that are right-leaning fail to understand, right? They say, sure, Trump is this loose cannon and he's gross and he's obnoxious, and I understand, but we'll hold our nose because he's going to do the right thing. No. The Project 2025 people, the Heritage Foundation, this is a very carefully laid out plan. She references the shock doctrine. This is a playbook. It's been done elsewhere. It's being done here. And we don't have time to let the ponderous wheels of justice turn to no, they're dismantling it, right? And they're basically elevating the presidency, Donald Trump, to the monarchy, all right? And there are people that are explicit about this too. Why? Because there just aren't any checks and balances, right? So we move from a government, as flawed as it may be, that is about serving the American people, right? The government serves the people, into a state where the people serve the government, and the government is the oligarchs and the few and the monarch. That whether that's Gilead and a Christian white theocracy or a technocracy or whatever it is, it serves the very few wealthiest at the very top, and the rest of us are all just carrying their water literally, right? There's no voting. I mean, they might still keep a cosmetic vote to make us all feel like we don't need to grab a pitchfork and take to the streets because there's so many more of us than them. But the vote's rigged and it's all right. I mean, this is what is actively happening right now. And they are testing the waters. Musk already has the keys to the checkbook. Like, he's holding the checkbook. That's the core. So you don't need a driver if you have direct control over the car from the engine. He's under the hood. This is a terrible mixed metaphor. My point is, 5-alarm fire is absolutely right. We are watching it unfold. And by the time all of this other slow stuff catches up, it's already going to be too late. In some ways, it feels like it's too late now because they are doing these radical things and there is no force rising up to stop it.
So it's more power to the executive and more power to these right-wing judges.
And the idea that the Democrats are sitting on the sideline and not creating a political narrative about this, when you have the AP running to normies, essentially like, this is, here. I mean, it comes off as like Elon Musk is just going in there and rooting out inefficiencies. Just like, one would hope.
I heard more outrage from these institutions over the idea that someone would overrule the parliamentarian. What happened to all of this care about our procedures and processes? It's completely insane how we're rolling over.
Hakeem Jeffries was doing an AIPAC fundraiser talking about Sinwar being gone over the weekend. Like, join DSA.
Yes, it's terrifying stuff, and I think we're in for more terrifying stuff in the days to come. I'll repeat it. This is not my quote, but I've said it before because I think it really resonates, is that hypocrisy is the compliment that vice pays to virtue, right? They bother to lie and accuse their opponent of the crime they are committing and say this is going to help, even though that's exactly the opposite, because they know what they're doing is wrong, right? They know what they're doing is wrong. Let me know what you think in the comments.